Once we've established categories for grading in the assignments section of Canvas, we can go ahead and begin creating assignments for our course. One type of assignment that we use a great deal in the English department requires file uploads. For example, this is the type of assignment that we would use for students to turn in essays and other types of written work. So let's take a look at how to do that. First, of course, you open this shell for the course that you're working on and go to the module for the week that the paper is due. Now, I like to include a text header that informs students that they need to submit the paper using the drop box below. That's not absolutely necessary, but it helps clarify for students what they need to do. When you're ready to add an assignment for a paper, you click on the plus sign for that module, and if it's not already selected, select Assignment, then click on a new assignment and give the assignment a name. For example, Paper 1. And you can choose to not indent it, or you can indent it any amount that you want. And the indication for the drop box will appear in your module. But then you have to actually set up the assignment requirements. To do that, you simply double-click on the link, and you'll be given a page like this. Select Edit. And in this box, you can include whatever information you'd like. If you prefer to present all the assignment requirements in this box, you may do so. Or you also can refer students to an outside document that specifies all the assignment requirements. Let me show you how to do that. Okay, to include a link to a file that you've uploaded to Canvas, all you need to do is on the right, click on Files. And you will get a list of all the files that you've uploaded. And we want to link this to the Paper 1 assignment sheet with September due date, so we simply click on that, and a link appears. Okay. The next thing you do is you need to designate how many points the assignment is worth. So let's say it's worth 100 points. And you have to determine which assignment category this assignment needs to be considered in. We don't have an assignment category for papers in the example that we set up, so we'll just select research paper. Then you can select whether you want the grade displayed in the grade book as points, percentages, letter grade, or so forth. I generally use points because if I select percentage, it simply adds extra characters to the grade book, and since everything I do is worth 100 points, that's not necessary. But you certainly can select percentage if you prefer. If for some reason you don't want this assignment to count toward the final grade, you simply check this box. Then you select a submission type. And if you are having students submit their papers through this drop box, you select online. And then you have various options that you can use. And most often we use file uploads, particularly if we're having students submit papers that they have composed in Microsoft Word. Now, if you want, you can click here and restrict the file types that you will accept by simply listing the types of extensions that are necessary. I don't generally do that. I state in my syllabus that all work must be submitted in Microsoft Word, and I also include that on my assignment sheets. If it's a group assignment, click here, and you set up a group name and select and set the parameters for the group assignment. But most of the time, we don't need that. Similarly, if you want peer reviews, you can click here and select whether you want to assign peer reviews to each student manually or whether you want the Canvas program to assign peer reviews to students. And then you also can elect to have the peer reviews appear anonymously so that students won't know which other student has done their review. But that's also optional. Now, when we get to this assign box, this section is not optional. You need to fill this out. And it starts with assign to everyone. And for the time being, you just leave that as it is. And then you indicate the due date. And the due date for this paper was September 14th. And you can, if you want it submitted by 11:59 p.m., that's the default. But if you want, you also can select a different time that you want papers submitted by. Then you select when you want the assignment to be available. And I usually make all of my postings available the first day of class, but you can also elect to make the assignment available after a certain date. And then you have to put in a time here that will designate when the drop box for the assignment will lock down. Now, I always prefer to have my drop boxes locked down at the time the assignment is due, but you can choose to allow them some leeway if you like. Okay? And that basically sets up your assignment if you don't have any students who have accommodations that allow them to turn in an assignment late. But let's take a look at what you need to do if you have a student with an accommodation that you want to provide extra time for. You click on Add, and then you will select the student that will receive extra time. And that can be one student or two students, anyone who has accommodations from the DRC or anyone that for whatever reason you're allowing extra time. And then you simply set up the drop box for them. So let's say that I'm allowing these students an extra day. So that would be September 15th at 9 a.m. And again, I would like that to be available from the beginning of class until their due date, which would be September 15th at 9 a.m. And once you've added an extra box for people with accommodations, this will change from everyone to everyone else, which lets you know that this assignment drop box will not be available to these students, but this one will. Okay. And then you simply click on Save and Publish. Apparently, this course is set up for a different start date than I had noted, so we will just go ahead and change that. And hope it works this time. There we go. Okay. Now, it's always a good idea if you've put a link in a box to check to make sure that the link works. And it does. And that's all there is to it. Now, if you want, you can set up a rubric in this section. You also may type your rubric up in Microsoft Word and supply that as a separate document if you prefer. Okay, that's all there is to it in terms of setting up a basic assignment for a paper or any project that requires file uploads. Hope this presentation helped.